At 11:07 a.m., the cabin door swung open without a knock. A woman in a tan visor stepped over the threshold, clipboard raised like a badge. "I'm authorized to be here," she announced. Across my kitchen table, the state attorney general put down their coffee. The room froze. Two staffers looked up from their notepads. My doorbell cam caught every frame, the visor, the clipboard, the stunned look when she realized who she'd just barged in on. By nightfall, there would be a sheriff's report, an emergency board, meeting, and a brand new HOA policy that boils down to 3 words: don't break in. But at 11:07 a.m., it was just me, my lake cabin, and a compliance chair who'd just kicked the wrong door. Let me explain how we got to the strangest coffee meeting of my life. I own a small lake cabin, cedar siding, screen porch, a dock that groans like an old friend when you step on it. When I bought it, the developer handed me a binder stuffed with rules and glossy photos. The HOA ran the roads, the boat launch, and the clubhouse. I was happy to pay for plowing and potholes. I was not prepared for Diane, visor, clipboard, who treated the bylaws like scripture and my house like a mission field. First, she cited me for unapproved dock lighting. I sent photos, low voltage, down-facing, turtles love them. She replied with a fine. Then it was unauthorized exterior camera. It pointed at my own porch. Fine anyway. Then it was improper firewood storage. Where do you want me to put it, Diane? The lake? That winter, a dozen neighbors started comparing notes. False late fees, liens, for dues that weren't, late threats to enter to inspect without notice. One neighbor's canoe was impounded from his own rack. Another got a letter saying his septic alarm was community noise at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. I volunteer with a veterans legal clinic. I know enough about state consumer protection to be dangerous and careful. I emailed the Attorney General's Community Outreach Office. "We've got an HOA that might be over its skis," I wrote. "Would you consider a listening session with a few homeowners while you're in the county next month?" I expected a nice brochure and a polite no. Instead, I got, "The AG will be nearby for a town hall. If you can host 6 homeowners for 1 hour in a private setting, no press, no politics, we'll stop by. We can't give legal advice, but we can explain complaint options." I picked the cabin, neutral, quiet, plenty of coffee. The morning of, I set out mugs and donuts, shut the dog in the back room, he loves officials too much, and printed a short agenda. What is a valid fine? What is trespass? How do we challenge improper liens? Nothing wild, just grown-up questions. At 10:58, the AG arrived with 2 staffers and 1 local liaison. No flashing lights, no entourage, just humans in windbreakers who looked like they had seen 1,000 weird things and were ready for one more. We sat down. The AG said, "We can't litigate your HOA today, but we can explain your rights, how to document, and how to file with the right agencies." We introduced ourselves, a retired teacher, a new family with twins, a widower who just wants to fish, and me with my binder. At 11:07, the door opened. Not knocked, opened. Diane stepped in like she'd staged a raid. "We've received reports of an unapproved gathering," she announced. "I need to see your guest list and verify parking." The AG stood up slowly, calm as sunrise. "Ma'am," they said, "you've entered a private residence without permission. Who are you?" Diane blinked like the light changed. "I'm the HOA compliance chair. I'm authorized to inspect." The AG showed a state ID, not a badge, not a flex, just a fact. "I'm the Attorney General," they said. "This is a private meeting, and you are trespassing. Please step outside." Diane looked at the ID, then at my camera on the wall, then at the homeowners who were all suddenly very interested in donuts. Her mouth opened, closed, and then found a familiar gear. Indignation. "This is common property," she said, pointing, her clipboard at my floor. The HOA owns to the shoreline. We have the right to enter. The interior of my cabin is not common property, I said, because apparently that needed to be said. You didn't knock, you don't have notice, and you definitely don't have a court order. The AG nodded toward the door. Let's not make this complicated. Outside, please. For a second, I thought she'd refuse. Then she pivoted, stepped back onto the porch, and stood there like someone who had tripped in public and was deciding whether to pretend it was performance art. The AG joined her on the porch with one staffer. I kept the door open enough to hear words but not politics. Here's what's going to happen, the AG said, clipped but not cruel. You're going to leave. You're going to instruct your board not to enter occupied homes. If you believe there's a violation, you send written notice and use your hearing process. You do not touch doors. Diane tried to rally. We have authority to inspect exteriors, the AG repeated. Not interiors, not locked porches, not occupied spaces, and never without notice. Diane reached for a new argument. We've had safety complaints, unapproved wiring, people meeting here during quiet hours. It is 11 in the morning, the AG said. If you have electrical concerns, you can request the county inspector. You do not self-help. Diane pointed at the homeowners inside. Are you all filing complaints against us? The AG's staffer stepped in. Ma'am, you should direct questions to your counsel. We're a public office. We accept complaints statewide. That process is separate from this homeowner's rights. Diane softened her tone. Well, if I misunderstood, I apologize. Her eyes slid past the AG's shoulder to my door cam, the red recording light as steady as judgment. The AG nodded once. Thank you. Have a good day. Diane walked down my steps, spine stiff, and hustled to a golf cart idling at my drive. She spoke into a radio. The cart zipped away. The visor did not wave. Inside, the AG sat back down and exhaled. Sorry about the drama, they said. Let's use your hour. For 60 minutes, we went line by line through what an HOA can and cannot do in our state. They can adopt reasonable rules consistent with the covenants. They must provide notice and a chance to be heard before fining. They cannot use self-help to enter homes, shut off utilities, or seize property without due process. They can place liens only as allowed by statute and the recorded covenants, and they must account for payments accurately. If a management company is collecting, debt collection laws may apply. Board members are fiduciaries. Personal crusades have bad governance. The AG gave practical advice. Keep it boring, save everything, use certified mail. If you get a bogus lien, talk to an attorney about a quiet title action. If fines are used as harassment, document patterns and file with our Consumer Protection Division and your county attorney. They also cautioned us, we don't become your personal lawyer, but we can take patterns seriously, especially deceptive billing, improper liens, or threats. We finished with a checklist: copy covenants, request records. Most states allow homeowners to inspect minutes, financials, and contracts, and elect better board members. The AG shook hands, took their coffee cup to the sink, and left like a person who had just turned a Saturday into a teachable moment. By 3 p.m., Diane's version hit the neighborhood Facebook group. Unauthorized political meeting at Cabin 14, outside agitators. The comments were a mix of pitchforks and popcorn. I posted one still frame from my door cam. Diane stepping inside, clipboard raised, the AG's ID just out of frame. Caption: this was not political. It was homeowners meeting with a state office about due process. Also, knock next time. At 4 p.m., a county deputy knocked, politely. We got a call about a trespass earlier, he said. I showed him the video. He took a short report. We'll document it and talk to the HOA about staying on the porch, unless invited, he said. Interior space is a hard no. Meanwhile, the HOA called an emergency board meeting. Their attorney finally appeared like an adult at a high school party. The next day, an email went out. Effective immediately, board members and volunteers are prohibited from entering any dwelling, porch, or enclosed area without express written permission from the owner or a court order. Inspections of exteriors must be scheduled with at least 48 hours' notice. All compliance communications must reference the specific covenant or rule with evidence attached. We will be offering board training on governance and fair practices. Translation: the visor got leashed. A week later, a dozen homeowners submitted records requests. In our state, HOAs have to cough up minutes and financials on reasonable notice. The management company sent PDFs that looked like someone fed a spreadsheet through a blender. But even blender spreadsheets tell stories. Administrative fees that multiplied like rabbits whenever fines were paid late. Even when the late was caused by their own misapplied checks. A security patrol contract awarded to a cousin's company. No bids. No insurance certificate. Lien processing fees higher than the actual dues owed. We sent the package to the AG's Consumer Protection Division with a cover letter. Pattern of unfair practices. Please review. We CC'd the county attorney and our own counsel. The AG's office acknowledged receipt and did not promise miracles. But word travels. The board voted to hire an outside CPA to review procedures. Diane resigned from the compliance chair to focus on personal matters. The visor retired from active duty. Summer crept back. On a sunny Saturday, I sat on the dock that, according to Diane, had once been the scene of lighting crimes. A kid from 3 cabins over asked if he could fish off the end. Go for it, I said. If the fish ask for a permit, tell them the Attorney General said it's fine. He laughed, then got very serious. What's an Attorney General? Someone who tells grown-ups to play by the rules, I said. He nodded like that made sense. Because it does. The inside of your home is not common property. Period. Inspection authority doesn't open doors. Without consent or a court order, entry, trespass. Due process isn't a vibe. It's notice plus evidence plus a chance to be heard. If fines don't follow that, document and push back. Keep it boring and written. Certified mail, saved emails, screenshots, minutes. Emotions fade. Paper stays sharp. Use the right channels. Local. Attorneys, county code enforcement, and your state's consumer protection office exist for exactly this. They won't fight your personal battle, but patterns matter. Fix the system, not just the moment. New policies, board training, and an election calendar on the fridge will save you more heartburn than 100 clapbacks. If you like stories where clipboards crash into boundaries and bounce, hit subscribe, drop a like, and tell me your wildest HOA moment in the comments. I'll bring the coffee. You bring the receipts.